Hi folks, and welcome to another video. Again, we're going into the editor in this as we continue our series with regard to making little scenarios so you can test game mechanics here. So if you recall, we saved it as basic WPP, and I already made a backup copy. I always make a backup copy of the ones that actually work and throw it into another directory. Folder. Directory is an old way of saying things. So you can see here from our last video, we've got Japan with a little island here, and we also have the UK with a little island here. We've ran it. We know that it works. It only has headquarters on it. In today's episode, I'm going to add weather to this, and I'm going to keep this very simple. Again, trying to keep the videos as short as I can, so this way you can try it on your own. When I want to use or add weather to the map, right now when I zoom in, you can see the word none here is on every single hex. That's because weather has not been placed yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the weather button on the top. You can see it here. I'm just going to highlight it up here. So you can see it on the top there. I'm going to click on it, and what it does is it gives me three tabs. It gives me a map tab, a zone tab, and modifiers for combat. Okay. Basically, the modifiers for combat is exactly what it's saying here. So I should say weather modifiers in particular. So if it's raining, you're going to add +1 to your movement with regard to your mechanized movement when moving on land. With heavy rain, you're adding 2. With snow, 1. And in blizzard conditions, you're adding 2. The combat effect on you, and you can see this from the point of view of rain here, your effectiveness is -50%. Heavy rain, it's -50%. Snow, -35. And in a blizzard, it's -50. And you can see here your recon level in clear weather doesn't drop, but it does in rain. It drops 2 points in heavy rain. In snow, it's like rain. You only drop 1 point, but in a blizzard, your recon level drops 3 levels. So when you take a look at this, these are the modifiers that are standard throughout all the scenarios that you see. So I'm not going to play around with that. Again, clicking on weather here, I see the zones here. And when I take a look at the zones, this is the North Moderate Zone. Here's the Mediterranean Zone. It looks like they have not been set. They're all exactly the same as I move through them all. What I like is number 8, the tropical zone here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow from the 1941 scenario here. I'm going to try to make some changes here because only 2 rows are affected. In the 1941 scenario, this turns out to be 30. And as I mentioned before, you can hold the control key to be able to do it a little bit quicker. So holding down the control key and left mouse clicking, you're going to end up going by tens. And it turns out that May it's 40%, and June it is 60%, and July it's 80% rain. So you can see these will impact your combat and your movement, so it's a good idea to keep handy the actual map that came with the game with regard to weather, and refer to it every once in a while to see what the zones, especially if you're entering a new zone and you need to attack, it might be a good idea to take a look at what's the predicted weather for those particular months that you're moving in there to be able to do that attack. So those are my conditions right now, and that's for I just changed the tropical zone number 8. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on the map button on the top here, and I'm going to select number 8 here on the top. So you can see I left mouse clicked on this, and it should appear on the bottom here to tell me that number 8 is the tropical area. Now what I want to do is I want to place this weather all over the map, and this is where now it becomes a little time consuming, and you can imagine with a bigger map how long this would take. So what I do is I left mouse click and I hold the left mouse button down, and I sort of drag it all over the place, sort of like coloring in the map itself. So what I'm doing is I'm adding weather to all the hexes. Notice if I pick a different one here, so if I decide to pick, let's say, and I'm just going to show you after I color this in a little bit here, and keep going. You can see it's a little time consuming, a little bit boring actually, but needs to be done. Every hex should have weather associated with it. And you can see that the number 8 will appear in the spot as opposed to the word none anymore. So again, that's the way of taking a look at the hex itself. We'll zoom in a bit. And it's up to you how you want to do testing. So you could set up your tests so that in a particular area it always rains. And this allows you again to test, combat in just strictly rain weather, blizzard weather, and its effectiveness on your unit and how it reduces everything. So you can see here all I'm doing is highlighting everything. I'm just quickly going over it, and it's time consuming to say the least. But once you get the hang of it, and like I said, once you've built your basic sort of scenario here, and that's what we're working towards, what ends up happening is you can do all the testing you want off of this base one here. So the preliminary work's a little bit long, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes really easy to deal with afterwards. Okay, so I'm just highlighting everything. It's like I'm coloring it in. Reminds me of when I was in elementary school, getting all my coloring books done and all the lettering and stuff. So here I go. I'm almost finished here. Just to kind of show you, after a second, I'll show you a different one. I'm going fast, so I'm actually missing. Usually I go a little slower and I follow a line so that this way on a bigger map I don't miss anything. But then again, on a bigger map I'm usually doing something different than tropical. I've got a bunch of other weather zones that I'd like to put on a bigger map, just like in the real game. So when I pan out, you can see here the whole map has now been covered, and when I zoom in you can see the 8. Notice if I pick another one here and just to do it as a straight line here, as soon as I click on left mouse click and zoom in, I've changed actually the weather zone to 2, and when I click on zones here and go to 2 here, you notice that nothing's changed. It's going to be always clear weather in that particular row of hexes that I've just created. So I don't want that, that's for sure. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to click on the map. I'm going to go back to number 8, and I'm just going to highlight that in. And that's it, folks, with weather. So I've now given my map weather and all the hexes itself. Like before, I check my ports. My ports are all correct. I check control. I'm good with control. I check supply. I check ally supply. And I've got my map here. So now I go turn around. Since I'm creating the basics here, I'm just going to click on the basic again and save. And close it up. And then when I quit, I can go to my new game here, and now, and when I go into hot seat and my game actually starts here, or my scenario actually starts, all my hexes should have some weather associated with it. Now, one of the things that Alvaro kind of says is always restart the game before you create anything, but if you stay within the small scenarios, you don't seem to have a problem. Okay, so you notice it's all clear, so the weather's good here, September 1st, 1939. In September, it was a 70% chance of being clear and 30% chance of being rain. So as it turns out, in this particular situation, for the Allied turn and the Axis turn, the clear weather remains. If I keep moving through the turns here, maybe I'm going to have rain. Nope, it looks like I'm continuing with 70% rain all the way through because of the September climate. So it's a lower chance that I'm ending up getting rain, and there you can see it here. The weather, the 30% has now kicked in. In this particular turn, the axes are now getting rain, and weather is working super fantastic within my scenario, so I could do some testing if I want with weather. Now, I was going to end the scenario here, or sorry, the video here, but what I want to do is I just want to go back, and I'm going to exit out of this now. And I could end the scenario here, but I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to set up the scenario for something that I want to test. So what I want to be able to test is the impact of islands on recon. Okay, so that's what I want to be able to test here. So I've got the UK island here, I've got the Japanese island here, I've got all these number 8s here that are, kind of putting a little pressure on my eye here. So I'm going to go on the top here, and I see a bunch of radio buttons on the top here, and it turns out that W is actually weather. So when I go to click on it, it gets rid of the weather for me, and it takes it a little bit easier on my eyes here. So now recall, this map here has Japan here as control of this island. So what I want to be able to do is I want to eventually make a map where I can see how recon is impacted by controlling little islands. Okay, so that's what I want to take a look at here. So to build a little island, what I need to do is go back to the tiles here, and on the top here, and this doesn't, at least I don't think it does in the editor of Warplan Europe. I didn't remember seeing them because maybe I just simply didn't use them. You can see all the atolls that exist with this particular map. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple here, and when I go here, I'm just going to get something like, okay, I like that one there, and I'm just going to place it on the map there. So I've placed my tile here, and I'm going to take another one here, and I'm going to place it over here. And the same as I move towards the UK, because again, I want to be testing here. If you control these islands here, how far can you actually see? That's what I want to be able to do in the next scenario here. So I've placed my islands here. But notice here when I go to check ports, I'm okay with the ports themselves, but look at control. It says check the error logs. So you would have to go into your Windows folder and check Cricut Studio's error logs here. But the problem is, if you're checking control, that means these little islands that you placed don't have control. Well, if you go back to control, and I want to give them to Japan here, so that's the Japan sprite here, number 8. When I go to click on them all, they all kind of change. I'm going to zoom in on this one. They kind of change color here, so you can see they've changed color. I could have picked different ones here. For example, if I went to this tile here, maybe I'll choose that one. Notice it remained under control there. Maybe this one here, I'll make it look a little bit fancier, and again, it maintained control. If you're not sure, you could always click on them again to make sure that they've obtained control, or you can go back to check control and see whether or not you get any error messages that occur. So keep that in mind as you're working through this. So I can see that these are all under control, but they don't have any kind of ports associated with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the resources here, and I don't really need a big city or anything like that. This looks nice here. I mean, I could put a little city there, or I could just put a little port here like that and just click on it. And I'm going to click on all of them, and I'm just going to simply put these with all single ports. Okay, what do I mean by single ports? Well, they're going to be of size 1. So to be able to do that, if you recall, I had to go under Map Edit. So I'm going to click on Map Edit here, and you can see here on the bottom left here is where I can apply port sizes to the individual hexes. So I'm going to click on this hex here, and I'm going to give it a port size 1. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to give this one a port size 1, and I'm going to do the same here. So these are all of port size 1. Okay. Now in theory here, I mean, these other ports have already been pre-assigned. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly check my ports here, and it says the ports are all correct. That's good. I've done that already. All hexes are in control. But if you recall, the other thing I did was I checked axis supply. So you can see here all the things that have lit up because of the ports. So it seems to be working, and I can go ally supply, and my map is complete. Now remember, I want to use these for a different sort of experiment here, okay? But I wanted to kind of put those islands there so you again review what we did last day when we were building it. These are atolls, they're smaller islands. Eventually I'd like to test to see how the recon levels work. And it'd be good to do it with small islands. Are they important to capture or not? So I sort of kind of wanted to review also a little bit of what we did in the first scenario and how I went about checking it. So now I'm going to turn around. I've got weather done already. I'm going to resave the basics here. So here's my resave. So I've saved it. I'm going to exit out. Now I know I didn't restart the game, but I'm hoping I don't have to in this particular situation. Things seem to be working perfectly fine. Sometimes, like I mentioned before, you get the green screen of death and you have to restart the game, which drives me nuts. Or at least restart the whole game. But you can see here it worked perfectly fine. Here I have my islands here, and if I were to continue kind of flipping through the turns, I have my weather. So this scenario here is ready for me to do a little bit of testing, and I've set it up with weather and basic plain sort of islands here to kind of work on some island hopping techniques. Thanks again everybody for watching this series, and I'm hoping to get a couple more done to get you more comfortable working with the editor so you can do your own tests and check out the game mechanics. This is what this is good for, game mechanics. Even though the actual base values are still for Warplan Europe, I'm going to ask Mr. Rivera how to upload it really quickly, the default values for Warplan Pacific, so that we can get into some more details afterwards. Thank you again for watching, and stay safe, folks. Bye for now.